are you telling me that there's no healthy level of alcohol consumption?
Yes, I would never say drinking alcohol is good for your health. That doesn't mean that drinking at what we call low risk levels can't be a part of a healthy lifestyle. So it's a slight shift that like don't fool yourself into thinking that drinking that glass of wine is like going to exercise for 30 minutes. Like it's not something that's going to promote your health. I think of it more like having dessert, eating bacon, going out in the sun. There are risks associated with all those activities. It doesn't mean that I would say you can never do any of that, but you need to understand what the risks are and then make choices for yourself.
So I look at this glass of wine
Yes.
here and this pint of beer.
Yep.
If I drank one of these a day, not a huge amount, I think what people tend to think is they think, well, it's only one,
Yep.
so my body will just flush it out and there'll be no adverse health consequences.
Yep.
Is that true?
Well, so part of the challenge is what we think of as one drink. So I think much like, if you learn to read the serving size on a food, you realize that like, oh, a serving of ice cream is like a half a scoop. It's not like a giant ice cream sundae. The same is true with alcohol. So in the UK, the kind of low risk drinking limits talk about units of alcohol, which is the equivalent of 8 grams of alcohol. So how much of a drink has 8 grams of alcohol? And to be in that low risk category, you have to be below 14 units. The problem is that glass of wine, just eyeballing it, has several units of alcohol. So it is not even though we think of it as a single drink, it's probably, I mean, I have to guess, but it's probably like 3 units of alcohol.
So if I have a glass of wine every day, I'll be over that limit then?
You'd be right at that limit. The problem is most people don't drink just one glass. If if you have 2 glasses one day and then 1 glass one day and then 3 glasses one day because you're at a social function, all of a sudden you're actually quite a lot over that limit.
So if you said that this is roughly 3
Yeah.
units, roughly,
And you get 14 a week.
you get 14 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 times 7,
Mm-hmm.
21.
Yep. So yes, you're over if you're drinking that size. Yeah.
Okay, so if I have this glass of wine every day, then I'd be over the UK limit of
Lower risk drinking.
lower risk drinking. So I'd be medium risk drinking.
You'd be in what we call moderate risk, which is associated with pretty much every form of cancer, which I think people don't know.
Okay, because I was wondering why cancer has been increasing.
Yes.
A variety of different forms of cancer have been
Yeah.
increasing. Breast cancer is one of the ones we always hear about that's
Yeah.
increasing. So you're saying, what is the data in terms of low or moderate risk of drinking and cancer?
Yeah. So the data is growing and really worrisome. So for breast cancer, so there's a few cancers that even at low risk limits, you see the risk begin to increase. So where we would say there's kind of no healthy, or there's no even like low risk amount. So breast and esophageal cancer are 2 examples of that.